What's up guys, my name is Ace, and yesterday we got a bunch of brand new Battlefield 6 gameplay from content creators. They got some early access for a capture event to play on the new maps, or the maps that we didn't play in the beta. And with this being an updated build of the game, there's actually a bunch of gameplay changes and improvements that were made from the beta build of the game that we can already see present, and that's what I'm going to be honing in on in today's video. I'm not going to be talking about new items and things that we didn't see in the beta that way. I'm specifically talking about things that have changed from beta until now. And let's just dive right into this with the auto spotting mechanic. Now with this, I'm not talking about the team spotting mechanic that you see with like recon, for instance, when you aim down sight or if you manually spot. I'm just talking about when you have an enemy somewhat centered on your screen. They automatically get that diamond or Dorito that appears above their head, and oftentimes this is all you see. You don't even see the character model all that well or at all, but you can see the Dorito and you know just to shoot below it. And in the beta, this was extremely forgiving. However, in this build that content creators got to play on, we saw that toned back drastically. So let's look at a few examples, and first, I'm gonna show you what this looked like in the beta with a few clips. And as you can see, even at a bit of a distance here, these enemies are spotted almost instantly as long as they're somewhat toward the center of my screen, even when I'm not aiming down sight at them. And I often found myself noticing the diamond before I ever even recognized that there was a character model there, because of how forgiving this was. Whereas after, let's have a look at some gameplay from Operator Drewski. I will of course leave links to all of the sources that I use here for the little gameplay clips I pull out. And in this, in some situations, there's no Dorito or diamond appearing above their head at all throughout the entire process of him getting a kill. Whereas other times, you can see a hollow diamond appear, and that's something that wasn't present in the beta build of the game. And as far as we can tell, that appears to be an indicator that this is only showing for you, it's not showing for your teammates. And that's to differentiate from the solid diamond, which is showing that that player is showing up for your entire team because he either got spotted by a teammate or he's firing an unsuppressed or non-flash hider gun, which we'll talk about in a bit. Now with this hollow diamond, it does appear there's also a small delay before this will appear on your screen once the character model is visible on your screen. So unlike in the beta build where that diamond would pop up basically instantly the moment that character model was visible, there is a little bit more of a delay, so it's not as forgiving there. And there also appears to be a hard range cap on this form of the auto spotting. And as far as I can tell, it appears to be 20 to 25 meters, roughly in that range. Because in this situation right here, we can see that hollow diamond doesn't appear above the enemy's head at all throughout this engagement. And we can also see the flag indicator is 19 meters away in this situation, and he's a little bit further back than 19 meters. I'd guess he's somewhere like 23 to 28 meters away. Whereas as he pushes up, we can see against that same player, now he suddenly has a diamond and he's in a closer quarter situation. So that leads me to believe that that hard range cap on this auto spot diamond is about 20 to 25 meters. And I think this is a fairly significant and great gameplay related change that they made from the beta build of the game. I think the auto spotting was way too forgiving in that I often found myself getting kills where I couldn't even see the character model, but I could see the diamond and I can shoot below a diamond. And I also found it a little bit confusing at times when there was a diamond that would appear. I didn't know if that meant only I could see that diamond or if my teammates were also seeing that diamond. So it's nice to see that clear visual differentiation now between those two. So that's the first big change I've noticed from the beta. The second one is a change to our health regeneration rate as well as behavior from the beta. What I was noticing watching this new gameplay is it seemed like it was taking players longer to get back up to full health after taking damage, assuming there's no equipment or anything in the equation, like a supply pack allowing them to heal faster. So I went and timed some clips, and it turns out there are some clear differences here. When it comes to our health regeneration delay, so the amount of time it takes before you can start regenerating your health after the last time you took damage, this value was unchanged from the beta. It was 5 seconds in the beta, and it's 5 seconds in this new build as well. And if you take any damage within that 5 seconds, it resets that timer. However, the behavior of our health regeneration has changed. In the beta build of the game, when you started regenerating your health after that 5-second delay, it wouldn't actually be your health bar that regenerates first. There was a background bar that would appear, and that would have to fill up first, and then after that filled up, then your actual health would regenerate. Whereas in this more recent build, it's more basic. We don't have that background bar. It's just after 5 seconds, your health starts regenerating over time until it reaches the maximum. However, the average regeneration rate, keeping in mind, I am also factoring in that background bar regenerating first from the beta build, but the regeneration rate from the moment that 5-second delay finishes to the moment that we're back up to full health, in the beta, this was 20 HP per second, whereas in this new build, it's 10 HP per second. So assuming we take the exact same amount of damage in the beta build versus this new build, it's going to take us twice as long after that 5-second delay in order to get back up to full health with this newer build of the game. So very noticeably slower there. Now, of course, you can still use supply packs to trigger that health regeneration immediately and regenerate at a much faster rate as long as you're standing within the radius of it. And speaking of those crates and the radius, there were a couple other changes that were made here in this build. The first thing is the green indicator that would surround it and would get kind of spammy in the beta. That has just been removed entirely, so you're not going to see a bunch of green circles on the ground everywhere. And another thing I've seen pointed out a few times is in the beta build of the game with this crate, it also resupplies your gadgets if you're standing within the radius. And in the beta, if you were regenerating one of your gadgets by standing in the radius of the crate and then you moved away from it for a brief period of time, it would actually reset that progress. So then when you get back on the crate, you have to start from scratch with regenerating that. Whereas in this newer build of the game, it pauses your progress and you can pick up where you left off when you get close to that crate again. So that's an interesting change, and it's nice to see that that's going to be a lot more forgiving in that way. After that, another big gripe throughout the beta was just how bright and large the scope glint was when a sniper was aiming down sight in your direction, and that has been drastically toned back. This is what it looked like in the beta. It was impossible to miss. This really stood out and caught your attention. Whereas now, this is what it looks like in the most recent build. This is significantly harder to notice. It's still there. You can definitely use that to your advantage to spot snipers a little bit easier than if there was no scope glint. But you're gonna have to be actively looking for it now. It's not something that's just gonna really grab your attention if it's on the edge of your screen, for instance. You've gotta be scanning for these, and I think that's great. This seems to be in a much better spot. After that, the shotgun we had access to in the beta, the M87A1, this one saw a pretty drastic nerf to its hipfire spread. And the devs also mentioned they were going to be reducing the per pellet damage, but we don't know exactly what the difference is there. However, the spread change is very obvious, as we can see. This is what it looked like in the beta, and this is what it looked like in the most recent build. Keeping in mind your field of view setting will have a slight impact on how this appears on your screen, so we can't really have a one-to-one comparison here without knowing the exact field of view he had on. But it's clear, regardless of field of view, this is a very big difference there. Next, something I saw initially pointed out by Westy is they significantly improved the defibrillator animation when you successfully defibrillate a teammate. You see a nice flash on the screen. There's also a better audio cue with that as well when you successfully defib somebody. And that was a minor gripe I had in the beta. There wasn't really a separate audio cue as far as I could tell for a successful defib versus an unsuccessful one. And there was no clear in-game visual cue. You had to either look at your HUD to see if you got it, or you had to just like look back again to see, is that teammate still down or did I actually get him up? So this one is a fairly minor but very welcome change in my eyes. Another thing some of the content creators noticed when looking through the attachments is they either made some changes to the muzzles, or maybe they work exactly the same, but they just provided a significantly more accurate description. One big thing to point out here is when using any of the muzzle brakes, it mentions when you fire your gun, you will not only be showing up as a diamond on the mini-map for enemy players, that part is no surprise at all, that's fully expected. You will also be spotted in world as you're firing your gun for enemy players, and this means 3D spotting. That diamond will appear above your head in the world when shooting with one of the muzzle brakes. Whereas the flash hider will reduce the range at which you appear on the minimap, and it will eliminate that 3D spotting when firing your gun. So that diamond won't be showing up in the game itself, just on the minimap. And then finally, there is one particular setting that wasn't present in the beta, but is now present in this build, and this is the ability to toggle on or off that interior minimap zoom setting, which in the beta you might have noticed by default, when moving from inside a building to outside a building or vice versa, your minimap will scale accordingly. So inside a building, it'll be much tighter, and outside it will zoom out automatically. And some people like that behavior, other people don't. I personally don't like my minimaps changing sizes just based on where I'm standing on the map. I like having more consistency, and I like having that extra information, even if it's outside of the building that I'm currently in. I still want to know what's going on a little bit more big picture. Now we have the option to just control that for ourselves. If you like that, you can turn it on. If you dislike it, you can turn it off. And I think that's great. And there we go. Those are just a handful of key changes that I've noticed from the beta build of the game to the most recent build. And much of this, I suspect, is in a finalized state, and we are going to be seeing this exactly as it was in this build at launch. And in general, I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. It's nice to see that they're not only looking at some of the bigger picture things, but they're also taking a look at a lot of the minor pieces of feedback, the little things that on their own may seem fairly inconsequential, but when you add them all up, these are some really nice improvements. And I think combined, they are going to be making some very notable improvements to the general gameplay. Now, of course, these are just the things that I noticed and my thoughts on them, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. For those of you guys that have been watching the gameplay from these creators from the most recent build, are there any other changes you've noticed from the beta build of the game to this most recent one? And second, how are you feeling about the changes that I outlined in today's video, like the change to the auto spotting or the health regeneration rate? Just let me know all of those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.